always a pleasure to be on with you. I love the work that you do and glad to be of importance to talk with you about some of the work we're doing.
Well, man, y'all do incredible work. National Right to Work is such an important part of restoring American values, basically, in a free market. And I did not know that you were so involved in with your legal foundation on some of these cases, specifically this Southwest Airlines flight attendants, and a great victory out of this. So, man, tell us about the case, and also just tell us more generally about the legal foundation and some of the other cases you guys are dealing with.
Yeah, specifically, this was a great story, and one that obviously is not going to get reported in the bigger mainstream media that has become so unreliable to talk about anything that doesn't fit their paradigm and kind of their viewpoint. But here's the deal: we ended up representing a flight attendant for Southwest Airlines by the name of Charlene Carter, and she was hired on at Southwest in 1996. She was a 20-plus year employee, never had any blemishes in her employment record at all. And in 2013, she was getting fed up with the union, the Transportation Workers Union, Local 556 down there in Dallas, Texas, that represented her and the flight attendants from Southwest Airlines, because of just some things that were going on inside the union. And she exercised her right to withdraw her union membership. Now, unfortunately, by withdrawing her union membership, she had to give up certain workplace rights in order to protect her ideological, religious, philosophical, and financial rights. And that's another issue for another day. But suffice to say that under the Railway Labor Act, which is the federal policy that kind of lays out the terms and conditions of the employment relationship between railroads and airlines and employees that work for them, she was required to pay fees in order to keep her job. So this little disagreement between the hierarchy of the union and her went on for years until finally in 2017, she found out that the union and the union president and several other employees of the union were using her money to travel to Washington, D.C. to support the so-called Women's March that was being patroned by Planned Parenthood. And Charlene is a strong Christian woman. She has very, very fundamental beliefs about her religious views. And, of course, abortion is one of those issues that comes up all the time when it comes to these types of debates and things that happen. And so this union
Wait, Mark, let me just make sure I got this right. So she's being forced to pay these fees in order to keep her job, and the fees coming out of her pocket, out of her paycheck, are now going to support something that she has a very strong, closely held religious belief against. So she's literally paying for something that really violates her conscience.
That's exactly right. And so she raises the issue with the union president. She sends private email messages to the union president saying, hey, this is outrageous. You guys shouldn't be using this money or my money or anybody else's money who differs. And they came up here and they marched in this parade with a Southwest logo on their banner and saying, we support all this Women's March and all of the issues that were being debated during that time in 2017. And so as this conversation between the private conversation, Charlene and the union official continued, the union official finally got to the point where she went to Southwest Airlines and said, hey, you have got to fire. They demanded the firing of Charlene Carter. And, of course, Southwest Airlines had a private meeting with her, and about a week later she lost her job. And it had nothing to do with the workplace, Rick. It had everything to do with the union's position. It was a fight between a so-called an employee who the union represented and the union officials that quote-unquote represented her. Southwest had no role in this at all until they went back to her Facebook feeds, some of the pictures on her Facebook account, 5 or 6 years ago that showed her in uniform saying something that was totally unrelated to this conflict, and Southwest said this was, we couldn't have this, and so she was fired.
Wow.
So we start litigating the case. We work it through the Fifth Circuit Court down in Dallas and in Texas, and it finally gets to a point where the judge dismisses the summary judgments. The airline and the union wanted to end the case, and it went to a jury. And, Rick, the jury listened to the facts. There's no opinion here. These are the facts of the case. They looked at it. They went into deliberation. They came back out with a $5.1 million judgment against the union and Southwest Airlines for violating Charlene's rights. Yeah.
Wow, no kidding. So not only does she get made whole and justified, but this sends a signal to these unions to do the right thing, not the wrong thing. I mean, this could have a ripple effect big time.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick. And thanks for mentioning that. That's a really important part of this, because when you look at it, you say, well, okay, this is great. But hopefully what this verdict does is it when, a jury of her peers looks at how the union is managing their privilege and power over individual workers and then using their money, to your point earlier, that the union may have to, pull in ranks a little bit and decide that, what, we probably should focus more on the workplace than on politics and all these other things that are unrelated to the events that occur in the workplaces across America. And then frankly, hopefully maybe some corporations who are supporting a lot of this agenda across the country will look at it and say, why in the world did we do this? Why don't we just stick to flying people from point A to point B and doing that really, really, really well with people that have great employment records and love their work and love their jobs? Why don't we do that?
Yeah, no kidding. And this is, I got to tell you, man, I can't imagine Herb Kelleher is not rooting you on here because, the Rebel Airline is supposed to be a place of freedom. It's supposed to be a place of joy, and everybody can have their own opinions and not be fired for it or punished for it at work. And the idea of forcing employees to donate to causes that, and fund causes that they disagree with from an airline based in Texas. I mean, come on, Mark, this is offensive to me as a Texan.
Yeah, exactly. And Texas has a right-to-work law where workers can basically say, I'm not going to support you at all financially because of the right-to-work protections. But unfortunately, the Railway Labor Act, which is the federal law that dictates the conditions and the rules and regulations for employees in the railroad industry and the airline industry, preempts Texas's right-to-work law. So the federal government comes in and once again, puts their thumb on the scale in favor of union coercion and union force. And unfortunately, to your point, this had nothing to do with Southwest Airlines until the union demanded she be fired. And I think Southwest chose poorly here. They Herb Kelleher and the beginning, the fun that was part of the branding of the entire airline's founding and operations for those early years was, we love to fly them. I LUV love to fly them, right? Isn't that what I'm supposed to say?
That's
LUV,
right.
Love to fly them?
Oh, it's so true, man. Oh, well, thankfully, maybe you're pushing them back to those roots by winning this lawsuit. And before I let you go, though, I any other cases that you've got going or any states where you've got a real battle on the right-to-work issue right now?
Yeah, we do. We've got, obviously, our little foundation that's been around since 1968. We've got 22 staff attorneys. We do nothing but support and help individual employees who want to exercise their rights in the workplace. And a lot of times, Rick, it runs into these issues, these cultural, social, personal, religious issues that are so relevant. And so they just come right to the forefront when you think of a union spending your money to support things you oppose. And so we have a couple of cases out in the Ninth Circuit in California that are similarly situated. It probably doesn't have as much of the energy as the Charlene Carter case because of the nature of how this all came down. But yeah, we have a lot of those. At any given time, we're running about 220 to 260 cases on behalf of individual employees, and we provide that free legal service. That is free legal aid. As far as the right to work issue, we're kind of on defense. We're trying to fight back against Joe Biden and his desire to be the most pro-forced union president in American history. He talks about that often, forcing more workers into unions so they can pay more money in dues to elect more politicians that will give them more power over workers. That vicious cycle we talked about before.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's lots of work. We're looking to pass a right to work, hoping to pass a right to work law in a couple of states as we move toward November and beyond. I think we're going to make some progress in the next couple of months. Just a gut feeling. Right?
Well, exciting times. I think the chaos and frankly evil of the last couple of years has awakened enough people that for guys like you that have been on the front lines for years and you're there in the fight, it's basically created an opening, I think, for a lot of good things to happen in the next few years. So Godspeed, my friend. Keep it up. Keep up the great work. Website where folks can follow the lawsuits and donate and help, all those good things.
Yeah, they can go to that amazing internet at www.nrtw.org, nrtw.org.
nrtw.org, and we'll have a link today at wallbuilderslive.com to make it easy for folks to get over there. Mark Mix, God bless you, brother. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for the opportunity. Always appreciate it.
We'll talk soon. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back with David and Tim Barton.